almost magical spiritual rites that he would later adapt. Whether Cagliostro and Pinto actually managed to uncover the secret of the elixir of life is open to debate, but Grandmaster Pinto was the longest lived of all Grandmasters, dying at the incredible age of 92 and being perfectly lucid until the end, fit indeed of body and mind.
Now I want to point out some quotes that I have in my notes from eminent insiders and scholars who have long warned about something very dark and corrupt emanating from within the Holy Roman Church. If you remember, earlier on in this chapter I quoted Archbishop Vigano as he exposes the real agenda behind the pandemic and the Great Reset, and referred to the hidden power behind this as the Deep Church. Many of his ilk have come before him to also make such statements and to issue such warnings. So here's a quick rundown of those statements. Let's start off with Charles Pascal Chiniquet, who was a Canadian Catholic priest who left the Catholic Church and became a Presbyterian minister. He rode the lecture circuit in the United States denouncing the Catholic Church, and he lived during the 1800s. He says, "Long before I was ordained a priest, I knew that my church was the most implacable enemy of this republic. My professors had been unanimous in telling me that the principles and laws of the Church of Rome were absolutely antagonistic to the principles which are the foundation stones of the Constitution of the United States of America." Then we have the great Baron Avril Manhattan, an elite Italian aristocrat insider whose book Vatican Billions, amongst others that he wrote, is a must-read by all. He had a few interesting statements on this, where he said, "The Catholic Church is the biggest financial power, wealth accumulator, and property owner in existence. She is a greater possessor of material riches than any other single institution, corporation, bank, giant trust, government, or state of the whole world." He also said the Third Reich is the first power which not only recognizes but puts into practice the high principles of the papacy. There's more connections there, getting into the Operation Paperclip saga, which is all about the Vatican rat lines. I don't have time to get into that in this particular chapter, but I will flesh that out in future chapters, so stay tuned for that. Avril Manhattan continues, "The Catholic Church must be the biggest corporation in the United States. We have a branch office in every neighborhood. Our assets and real estate holdings must exceed those of Standard Oil, AT&T, and US Steel combined. And our roster of dues-paying members must be second only to the tax rolls of the United States government." He continues, "The Catholic Church, consumed by chimerian dreams of formidable expansion, is biding her time to enforce her domination upon the human race, not only as a spiritual, but also as a political power, buttressed by the unshakable conviction that it is her destiny to conquer the planet. Her opposition to world revolution is not caused by her wish to save the freedom of the world, but by her wish to continue her old fight against the freedom of the world." Or how about statements like this from Pope Not So Innocent himself on the worldview these papal orders had in the past and that I suggest still have to this day, where Pope Innocent says, "The popes have received sovereignty not only pontifical but royal." Pay attention to that. Pontifical. Not only pontifical but royal. And the empire not only of heaven but also of earth. Outside the church, there is no building save hell, and there exists no power ordained by God. So he's basically alleging that the church is the power on earth and has been put in power by God. But which God are we talking about? Or we also have from De Romano Pontifex, which means On the Roman Pontiff. This is a book written in the late 1500s. It says, "The Roman Pontiff, constituted by God above kings and kingdoms, is the supreme hierarch of the church militant and has obtained principality over all mortal men." Then we've got Pope Boniface VIII, who is the author of the infamous papal bull Unum Sanctum, which is a whole exploration in itself and it says a lot, where he said, "We declare," so he's saying we the church, "we declare, define, establish, and decree that every human creature, under the rigid necessity of saving his soul, must be subject to the Roman Pontiff." And Unum Sanctum was essentially the declaration of the Catholic order as the universal religion and faith of the world, but also what he's saying here is the owner of all the souls on the earth. Think about that. Or we can hear what Malachi Martin had to say, who was an Irish-born American traditionalist Catholic priest, biblical archaeologist, exorcist, paleographer, professor, and prolific writer on the Roman Catholic Church, where he said, "Archbishop Malingo is a good bishop, and his contention that there are Satanists in Rome is completely correct. Anyone who is acquainted with the state of affairs in the Vatican in the last 35 years is well aware that the Prince of Darkness has had and still has his surrogates in the Order of St. Peter in Rome." You're going to hear that on CNN? Then we got General Lafitte, who in 1799 was an aide to General Washington, where he wrote a book called Romanism, a Menace to the Nation. He said, "It is my opinion that if the liberties of this country, the United States of America, are to be destroyed, it will be by the subtlety of the Roman Catholic Jesuit priests, for they are the most crafty, dangerous enemies to civil and religious liberty. They have instigated most of the wars of Europe." Then you got James Parton, who's an American historian, where he said, "If you trace up Masonry through all its orders till you come to the grand tip-top head Mason of the world, you will discover that the dread individual and the chief of the Society of Jesus, i.e. the Black Pope, the superior general of the Jesuits, are one and the same person." Interesting statement. There are those who think that it goes even beyond that. We can continue here with J.E.C. Shepherd, who was a Canadian historian, where he said, "Between 1555 and 1931, the Society of Jesus, i.e. the Jesuit order, was expelled from at least 83 countries, city-states, and cities for engaging in political intrigue and subversion plots against the welfare of the state." And those are just other terms for conspiracy, by the way. According to the records of a Jesuit priest of repute, i.e. Thomas Campbell, practically every instance of expulsion was for political intrigue, political infiltration, political subversion, and inciting to political insurrection. That was written in 1987. And that kind of statement reminds me of the way the CIA operates. I wonder if there's a connection. I got a couple more for you. We got Samuel Morse, 1791 to 1872. He was the American inventor of the telegraph, and he was author of the book Foreign Conspiracy Against the Liberties of the United States. So he was writing about this back in the 1700s, guys, where he said, "The Jesuits are a secret society, a sort of Masonic order with superadded features of revolting odiousness and 1,000 times more dangerous." And then we'll finish with a quote from Adolf Hitler himself, one of the agents of the Roman Empire, if you really know what you're looking at. He said, "I have learnt most of all from the Jesuit order. So far, there has been nothing more imposing on earth than the hierarchical organization of the Catholic Church. A good part of that organization I transported directly into my own party. The Catholic Church must be held up as an example. I will tell you a secret, that I am building an order. In Himmler, who would become head of the Nazi Party, I see our Ignatius de Loyola, the Jesuit founder. I'll let you ponder those as we continue. All right, well, there you have it, guys. How's it going? What's going on? We are Friday, May 29th, 2026. Just a little intro from my Cult of the Medics series. That was chapter 8, actually. If you want to check it out, it's right here on Substack. You can watch it for free. I hope you check it out if you haven't seen them. And yeah, I guess there's an order to it, but you could just pick an episode and watch it. I mean, they're all very different. I feel like the production value gets better as you go. So, stick with it. But I felt that those quotes were very relevant to some of the things that are going on. And so I thought I'd open with it and see what you guys were in the mood to talk about it. Sean Scott says, very nice intro. That's well done and sourced. Thank you, good sir. Thank you, good sir. Welcome, everybody. Robert's here. Lisa's here. Susanna, Nevin, Earth Yanni. Good day. Erica, Karen, Cavill, Sean. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Yeah, I figured I was going through some of my notes. I have so many that I've saved over the years. And sometimes I'm thinking about like what angle to bring in, what refresher to go through. And I thought, what a good one. The deep church. We get a lot of talk about the deep state. We get a lot of talk about how this works on the political level. But there's bigger, powerful cats on the chessboard. And one of the quotes that really caught my eye, it was relevant to a conversation I was having with somebody, was, I think it was one of the last ones, where he was talking about the Satanists in Rome, that it's sort of known that the Vatican got infiltrated 60 something years ago. And in at least certain levels of the hierarchy, there is these satanic elites that have gotten into it. And you could call it satanic. Some people have looked at it from the communist angle. Like if I talked to Trevor Loudon or someone like that, they would say the communists infiltrated the Vatican. But I mean, in the end, both Satanism and communism are basically wrestling with the natural order. So what's the difference, to be honest with you? You know what I mean? But yeah, that was interesting. I thought the reason that was a section, it was sort of an overlooked section in the series, because the series is about the medics and the history of all of that. And well, we kind of get into a lot of things, but it was centered around the pandemic era. And I was trying to use the series to roll out the research about the history of the infiltration of all of our institutions, including the church and the political establishments and definitely the medics, right? Definitely the medics. Think about what I was talking about in the recent show with Sean Buckley about just how corrupt and rotten the whole thing has become. We talked a little bit about it, but it gets into the Flexner report. I do cover that. I think it's like in chapter 6. Oh, and hold on. I think I did misdo it. I gave you the wrong chapter, guys. It is chapter 6. It's not chapter 8 that deep church section is from. Chapter 6. My bad. The underground world, I think. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? The reason I bring it up as well is because in a recent show, I was trying to talk about psychological types. We were talking about the Eros versus Thanatos, the life instinct versus the death instinct. And I just had a mind-boggling conversation with Michael today for Unslaved for this week's episode. We recorded it today. And it'll be out probably on Sunday or Monday. And it is just an absolute mind job, because he's bringing up some really big questions and starts off slow and builds it up. And you got to stick through the whole thing. And then right to the part where I come in and I start asking some questions, it's just mind blowing. And it is relevant to the last few shows I've done. It's relevant to this. It's basically like when you're trying to diagnose disease and you're trying to diagnose what are the solutions to the disease, there's a whole process that goes into it, right? And that's what this is really all about, is, make sure I can see the chat, is just making sure that we are always thinking about it in those terms, and that is always going to be the main intention behind the work that we're doing. Because if you're only talking about problems and not thinking about the solution, then you're not in that more positive mindset that's going to keep you going. You're not going to even get close to the Eros principle or the life principle or the positive mindset. You're going to be stuck in that sort of will to power, death instinct. So we talked about this today, the will to power, and the counter to that being the will to meaning, the will towards meaning, and how none of the solutions we're going to see with getting rid of the scourge that has risen up within our institutions, whether they're the religious houses, the political houses, the financial houses, the corporate houses, the social houses, doesn't matter. You can't really get rid of it there if you can't get rid of it as a problem in basically the human mind, right? Like, it's sort of wired in. There's a whole existential thing going on. There's anxieties, there's traumas, there's fears, there's all these things. And so the people at the top, this deep church, this infestation, they represent basically a particular frequency of consciousness. And that's why they have their dogmas and their ideologies that back it up. And the ideology that seeped in and crept in that was very seductive was the idea of totalism and reconstruction of the world and world domination for the purpose of bringing a dominant idea and to create a totalitarian system, because that was the only way to rule humanity. This very rough, bestial, violent, angry species, right? And so how do you bring peace on earth? Well, some of these guys that have created a lot of these cults, and I think a lot of the perversions that we see in religious institutions all over the world, because everybody's going to say, well, look at Islam, look at Buddhism, look at the corruptions that have happened in all of these different religious traditions. And where they strayed from the origin, that's the counterclaim to the mainstream, right? Is that, well, what you've got today in religion, I don't care what you're talking, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, all of them, it's like what I've seen in the martial arts. Like, things get added and things get lost along the way. And in that process, people take advantage of that, and they realize that these institutions are incredibly powerful. Like, let's be honest, the Vatican, the Rome, the whole history, the power acquired, even if there was good things about those eras and those empires and civilizations, obviously there's the strain, the frequency within human consciousness that can get in and possess somebody to want to use it for power. That's the will to power. Will to power above all else. Crushing skulls, no big problem. Committing mass genocides, hey, it's for the greater good. Got to clean this place up, right? Like, that gets justified. And then that's the ancient version of it. What I was trying to get at in this episode, in this series, was we got a modern version of it. You have a modern priesthood that might not be officially the Vatican anymore or the church anymore, but trust me, it's the same psychological regressive types that have gotten into these roundtable groups that influence politics, like the Club of Rome, like some of these think tanks, these globalist think tanks, the WEF, whatever. You have modern incarnations of these roundtables that have agendas to fix the human race. And what Michael was bringing up, like, I'm not going to spoil it for you. We get into the whole thing about the possibility of life on other planets and how it mirrors our own and to what degree. And like, it's incredible what gets woven into this episode, guys. I can't wait for you to check it out. But it got my wheels turning, and I was thinking, because on the other side of what I was looking into, I was looking at diagnosing over these recent shows what's happened in the West, in Western civilization, to cause suicidal tendencies. Not just, oh, we're under attack and we're being infiltrated and we have our institutions captured and we have, mass immigration and all this kind of stuff, and they're flooding us with terrorist cells and gangs and violence and, disorder so that they can justify increasing power. Like, it's not just that. There's been like a hijacking on a total different level, on the psychological, and some people would say even the spiritual level, which comes back to the church, which comes back to the capturing of the houses of light. That would have been the number one target. This is what I don't get with people is they'll go, well, yeah, there's definitely some corruption in foreign countries and in other groups, and there's corruption in everywhere else but where I'm from, right here in the West. And the problem is when we think like that and we don't look within our own gates, we realize, well, we do have corruption. If we don't recognize it, you can't get to the fix of the problem. You can't you can't drain that deep state swamp, right? And then now you have a whole generation being raised by this new high table, if you will, the people that are the social engineers now, that they're going to erase the memory in the new generation of how these institutions came to be what they are, what their histories are, who really runs them, how they operate, and what the power game really is, So anyways, I thought that was interesting. The deep church, it just kind of reminds everybody, as people are trying to think of a fix for the political corruption and the wokeness and all the kind of stuff that is hot topics right now. How are we really going to fix the pharmaceutical industry and the medical world? And is there ever going to be justice? And how are we going to fix the legal systems that have allowed loopholes to allow this criminality and all this crimes against humanity to take place? Well, obviously there's practical solutions for how this could all be fixed, but there's got to be a will to fix it. There's got to be a will to do it. And that's why you got to get into philosophy and psychology, because you have to understand what drives the human will. If you don't know what drives the human will, if you haven't figured out what drives your will, then you're not going to understand how the people at the top think about how they're trying to direct all of our will so that we operate the way they believe was to be the perfect citizen, right? It's like in the Tron lore, in the story of Tron, there's this guy that is, what is his name? Clue, or I can't remember the names of the characters, but the guy who was invented by this programmer who created this artificial reality, this 3D, digital reality that he could project himself into. And in that program, he created a program that was there to design the perfect system. That's what he was ordered to, that's what he was prompted to do. His AI system was commanded to create the perfect system. And as the system's being made and the whole Tron universe is being constructed, this character looks back at the owner, at the user, and he's like, do you still want me to create the perfect system? And he's like, yeah. And then he has the digital guard arrest the main user. And basically the point is, oh, well, we're going to eliminate you because you are inefficient. You are imperfect, you human. The computer AI consciousness it's going to be dominant because it doesn't have to worry about all these pesky feelings and emotions. And then you think about that, and it makes you think of the movie Equilibrium now with Christian Bale, which is a phenomenal martial arts action film, but there's also a very deep message in that movie. And it's talking about how a totalitarian structure gets built. It's a dystopic future where it's completely totalitarian, top to bottom, highly regulated, high technology, central control, propaganda 24/7, Big Brother, George Orwell kind of future, right? And there's this Praetorian Guard that goes around and basically eliminates anything that causes emotion in humans. So you got to get rid of all the art. You got to get rid of all the poetry. You got to get rid of all the music. You got to get rid of all the imagery and everything that arouses emotion, right? And you create a gray world so that you can have no war. And it's so interesting, that movie it's just like a B science fiction film, but it's actually encapsulating like very deep philosophical debates that go back to like Immanuel Kant and then, Rousseau versus, all the, like, it's amazing to see what's in the science fiction world. Actually, we were talking about that in the show today. Like the science fiction world has been bringing very deep psychological content for a long time, right? Also think of the deep state. Like, what does that term even say? The deep state. What about the deep state of mind? the deep state of where you're at, the deep state of your existential terror, the deep state of your anxiety. What's your deep state and what condition is it in? And how can the political deep state manipulate you to make sure you're the perfect pawn on the board? So it just brings so much up. And so then we had this dialogue about, and guys, I'm just kind of spitballing here. So if there's anything you want me to get into, hit me up in the chat. But if you have this idea of a manipulation going on, and the manipulators believe they're doing something benevolent for humanity, they believe they've worked it out and that there is no solution to the human condition of war, violence, and all of this. There is no solution to it other than to merge man with technology and eliminate, through synthetic means, eliminate the evil. Because the church tried it, they'd say, the religions tried it, and they failed, which means humanity rejected it, which means it's not natural, which means we got to do it scientifically and through a Frankenstein type experiment where we're going to jab it out of you. We're going to cut it out of you. We're going to put chips in you that have, pain signals sent on a subconscious level. And you're not going to want to ever think an evil thought or a violent thought ever again. And you'll be totally docile and you'll be on medication and it'll be everybody happy now. It'll be more of Aldous Huxley kind of, this is the Aldous Huxley crowd coming in and saying, yeah, but the problem is, we were saying this, is that the woke don't take human evil into account because they don't believe in human evil. They don't believe anything humans are doing is actually evil. I mean, look at them letting out these criminals that are out there slashing people's throats in the street, and then they're out on bail. These judges are letting these people go and having soft glove approach, and that the criminals are treated with compassion and the victims are treated with complete disregard and ire. What produces that? Is it just an Illuminati, or is it part of the human condition? There's an inner Illuminati that can happen to anybody. There's an inner manipulation, an inner conspiracy that can turn you off and make you go, yeah, the human condition is so bleak. Let the social engineers get busy, man. Let Dr. Jose Delgado implant everybody with brain chips and train everybody with Pavlov dog techniques and Ash experiment techniques and Stanford prison experiment techniques and new normal tech brainwashing, and keep talking about future utopias and keep hammering there's climate change when the real battle is consciousness, right? So it all starts where we were talking about Rand's perspective of the mystics of muscle and the mystics of spirit. The priests, the people that have territorialized, the materialist, scientific, we're going to come in and be the solution. We're going to come in and bleach everything. We're going to come in and do nuclear option. We're going to come in and this is what is it? What did Bertrand Russell, one of the top dogs at the Fabian Society and the Royal Society, who's writing The Impact of Science and Technology on Humanity or whatever, they believe on that end that they need to create a totalitarian system based on that materialistic worldview to whip humanity into shape the way they've done and program monkeys and labs and all this kind of stuff. And that's why they created this thing. And then on the other side, you got the mystics of spirit, which are the guys that captured the church. This is your deep church. And it's in all the churches. It's everywhere. The pedophilia is everywhere. The drug use is everywhere. The manipulation is everywhere. The egoism is everywhere. The charlatanism is everywhere in those worlds. It's incredible. And that doesn't mean there isn't any positive tool with religion, but guess who's using the tool? The dark side, right? So that's kind of the message. And so you've got these two centers of control, and then they will sit a member from each one of those centers of control on debates all over YouTube, and you'll watch them duke it out. And meanwhile, there's never third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh other options of possible worldviews, possible solutions, possible explanations that have been done by other very genius maverick thinkers to present a good diagnosis of the real problem, and also very, very viable solutions that are more organic and don't involve creating a totalitarian setup where they're going to program your minds with technology and, force you to be moral, right? According to them. And they would obviously be the ones setting the standard of morality. And the same is true in the church, guys. The same is true. Who wrote those books? Who gave them to you? Who set the standards of morality? Who manipulated the understandings from our ancestors of what the real morality was, which was much more in, line with the natural law, right? So big subject, the deep church. Let me check the chat. What's going on in your minds today? Shannon says, Cultural Medics was so helpful to me in the scamdemic. I had no idea what was going on, so it brought me right up to speed. That's why I put a sticker on my car to advertise your great works to share to anyone that may see it. Oh, that is a sweet thing. I'm so glad, Shannon, that it helped you. I'm so glad. It helped me making it. It was my therapy, and I'm glad it helped. Cheryl says, can't wait to check it out. Yeah, check it out. Chapter 6 is the one, if you want the one related to the deep church. And go check up on the sources, Father Chiniquy, Malachi Martin, Baron Avril Manhattan, James Parton. Man, there's tons of names dropped in that series. So, follow up. SB says Equilibrium, Gun Fu. Yeah, that was also a very unique, in terms of action movies, what a unique element to roll into the film. Like we'd never seen it before. Gun katas and like gun fighting with like kung fu. That was some of the coolest action stuff you can do. Cavill says each faction leveraging the population for their respective desired tactics and strategies. Exactly. Like they all have their own agendas, right? Like the Catholic Church, I'm talking about the deep state church, has the agenda for world domination. Islam has the agenda for global caliphate, world domination. There's extreme elements in Judaism as well that have the same view. There's elements even in Buddhism that they're like, we're going to force everybody to be peaceful whether they like it or not. We're actually going to groom the children through a lot of very dark sexual black magic to rinse out this plague of humanity. It's very evil, some of the ways that this has been done. Go check out the show we did with our good friend Jack. He came on to talk about his experience with the Hare Krishna movement. And that show's called Killing the Buddha on Unslaved. And Russ Vikings asking, what do they actually worship? They worship power. They worship death and power. Death is the liberator. Power over life and death is the ultimate power. It's not money. It's power over life and death. And which branch of the satanic tree would be in charge of over life and death? That's why I did the medics angle. But then there's like, okay, what wing is in charge of the life and death of societies and countries and civilizations? They have an economic wing to take care of that, And so they have different. It seems like this is a full spectrum dominant situation, and yet when you go, why? It's just so evil and anti-human. I'm like, yeah, because you have people that have rejected themselves on an individual level. That's why we call them unslaved. Michael calls them self-murdered people. It was damage done to yourself. And when you're in that state, or who else called it the betrayal of the self, right? When you're in that state, you're automatically in an existential fright because there's nothing else really anchoring you to reality. And when in a state of existential fright, you're regressive now. You're regressing back because what does fear do? It makes you shrink and go backwards. I was trying to make this point in a recent show. It makes you shrink and go backwards. Whereas the will to meaning, that's what, like the will to meaning can be tied to courage as a virtue, one of the virtues, because there's meaning in the pain and suffering. Now, there's meaning in it. It's not just there for some torture technique by the gods, right? When you are when you're operating from that would be more the eros, the love and appreciation for life as it is, as a challenge in front of you. This is the warrior principle as well, that you approach life as a challenge, not as a curse or a blessing, right? It's a challenge, that's the joy of this life. That's the point of it. But the suffering, it seems to outmatch the suffering, and the evil is so powerful as like a frequency in all of humanity and in the aggregate, right? That you can hear the arguments of these totalitarians. You can go, well, yeah, something's got to keep this under control or it's going to be meltdown. Like they tried using distractions, they tried using food, they tried using circus, to keep everybody distracted from what? From going and hacking each other up. That's what. So, or at least this is the one argument. This is what they would say. We have to keep, there's a reason we have to control the crowd, because the crowd is violent and angry and unsatiable. And you look around and you go, wow, they got a point. But the thing is the guys that I would say came from the eros, the love of life, and the more humanitarian, like, hey, we're also we're evolving as a species. There's a process of moving forward. These aren't regressive thinking types. These are like, hey, okay, fair point. We see the problem, the crime, the rape, the fraud, the conspiracy, the murder, the genocide, the wars, the evil that is unspeakable. We see it, but there is also meaning. There is also good. There is also light. There is also truth. There is also virtue. There is also examples of small amounts of people that have caused massive changes in the world by operating on a different mode, a different setting, a different frequency of human consciousness. So because that's possible, and that happened naturally without Jose Delgado putting brain chips in there, or we had to create the global village of, nanny state totalitarianism. Without that, it's bloomed. So maybe there's other ways of incentivizing the drives of humanity, and we'll drive them towards meaning. We won't drive them towards power, the will to power, domination, based on fear, based on, right, poverty consciousness and negative thinking. And they're like, yeah, but the default in humanity is negative thinking. And it's like, yes, but it can be changed. The viewpoint can be changed. There are remedies to the trauma, to the existential fear and all that. So that's the counter argument to the globalists, is to say, no, you guys are wrong, because who the hell are you to be the ones to do the diagnosis and the solution, when it just so happens that your solution grants you unearned power, wealth, the ability to enact your sick, dark fantasies on people you just despise, because you've despised yourself. So therefore you despise the human species, and therefore it justifies what you're doing. You also, on the religious side and the deep church side, you could say, well, their view, the twisted view of it, became really Gnostic and really earth denying and hating the earth and hating the condition, and saying, we actually live in hell, guys. This is hell. And if you say that, and that there's another world that is not hell, that is the opposite of this, that is way better, and that all you got to do is jump through all the hoops we're going to lay out in front of you to get from this hell to that heaven, now you have massive manipulation, and you curse the world. And when you curse the world, what do you engender in children? Well, then nature and the world is to be denied and abused. And it justifies what? It justifies will to power. It justifies evil. It justifies, that mentality, the evil towards animals, the evil towards nature, the evil towards humanity, the disregard, the justification of mass killing, the justification, it goes on and on and on. So you can see how in both of the black and white checkerboard of the squares of the chessboard, you've got the priests of muscle and the priests of spirit. The priests of spirit are not the mystics they claim to be, and the priests of muscle are not the logical scientists they claim to be. They're both dogmatists, they're both cultists, and they're both regressive types who have captured the creations of good men, right? Like, that's the difference too. They've captured it and warped it, and they see the shards of it and they hold on to it. So this is all just kind of blowing my mind, because this is elements of what Michael and I were talking about today. I hope you guys see that episode when it comes out. It's got elements of what's going on in the political news right now with the clash of civilizations, and hopefully what the West starts fighting back and getting out of suicidal thinking and moving forward and being more really truly progressive, not the Marxist progressive, which is a lie. And moving more towards the eros, more towards that. I mean, that's the goal. But then you think, all right, where is the diagnosis on these different, like, how do we understand these different drives within us? Because we do have both. Like, we can't say it's only will to power or will towards death or death instinct. And we can't say it's only will towards life and will towards meaning, right? You are both. So that's your two wolves then. And then that's the old, it's the one you feed. So there's some ramblings for you guys. There's some ramblings for you. We are going to do another half hour, just us. We can talk about whatever you guys want. And then my lovely wife, Monica, will be joining, no doubt, to have some amazing input. Oh, and I was going to start with this. Let's get into another quick one, if you don't mind. I was going to start with this. I just posted this today. I'll come over here. No, it's okay. This is from Ayn Rand, and I want to talk about this. I love this image too. Power lust is a weed that grows only in the vacant lots of an abandoned mind. Power lust. We're talking about power, infiltration, deep states, deep churches, dark cabals, human evil, the will towards power, the power lust. Power lust is a weed that grows. So she's talking about the conditions of the mind that produce the power lusting psychopaths, right? The condition is that is an abandoned mind. It's the vacant lots in of abandoned mind. What a brilliant statement. Because when you abandon your mind, and not just your mind, but like you could go even deeper and say, when you abandon yourself, you are no longer in a position to be in command of your own destiny. And so you are now going to be at the whim of the crowd or the tyrant, whether the tyrant is someone in your personal life or whether we're talking at the political level. And the need for power over others, temporal, earthly power over others, and the justification to gain that power by hook or by crook or by any means necessary, meaning we're not going to believe that there's any virtue between humans anymore. We're going to get rid of that, and we're just going to go for whoever can win now, right? That kind of consciousness. Well, that is the result of the weeds that grow up in the abandoned mind. The abandoned mind that has not been illuminated with knowledge, with truth, with understanding, with study, with introspection, with creative thinking, with open-minded thinking, with deep curiosity, with, the virtues. The abandoned mind defaults to power lust, will to power, and can't understand will to meaning that there's the human will towards meaning. So that is powerful as well, because now you get a better understanding of the people that are in power, the cult leaders, and then you get also an understanding of the cult followers, all of their worshipers, the blind followers. They are also the abandoned mind. And they are in fear, and they only look to the leaders that they've chosen because they feel like those are the mommy daddy figures that are going to lead them away from the struggle and the pain of life, as opposed to the heroic view, the meritocracy view, the eros view, which is we accept the fact that we live in a heaven and hell scenario here. Probably a little more hell than heaven, but there is enough heaven to go around. Let's be honest. It is also there as well. And that exists, as something that you bring into the world. It's not the world itself that's going to necessarily, it can kind of greet you and point you to it. Like I've felt like I was in heaven this morning when I was out with the birds chirping and the sun on my face and the nice breeze going through the trees, and it was perfectly peaceful. And I went, hey, this is the good side of nature right now. The other day, it was blowing and dark and rainy and stormy and cold and gross, And so it's kind of amazing how many different places you see this. So why wouldn't it be any different in human beings? Why wouldn't it be any different in consciousness itself? If we are also nature and we see what nature does, why wouldn't we see that that's also an echo in us? And so if you don't, what do you do with nature? If you don't garden, if you don't replenish, if you don't nurture, then it dies and it withers and it starts strangling other things around it. So it's the same with your mind. If you don't garden, if you don't nurture it with the right information, the right thinking, the right communication, then it becomes an abandoned warehouse where other people can move their furniture in, their ideas, and now you're no longer free. You are a slave. At least you're a slave mentally, right? So it all comes back to that personal work that we all got to do. So hold on, I just my screen here. Where did I go? Make sure. Okay, there we go. I got too many pages open. So back to the chat. Sacco says, "Hi, David. Can't wait to watch it too." Oh yeah, you're talking about that new episode for Unslaved. Yeah. Also, guys, I keep talking about it. I'm going to keep updating you. Monica and I are super hard at work in the background with this new Unslaved setup with the new website background. It is just going to be so much better in so many ways. It fixes all the problems. I can't wait. I upload a video. It's there instantly. The search is better. The tags, it's a tag thing. So it's all tagged perfectly. So it's easy to find. I'm splitting up some of the longer presentations, like they're like 11 hours straight, into multiple parts. So it's easier to digest and organize and, all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited. New things coming for Unslaved. And the episode today was total fire. So that'll be coming out soon. Cavill says, how much might be a desire for the factions to become like a god? Well, yeah, that would be like, if you're talking about the god metaphor, like they want to become the gods over the world. They believe they have the prescription for life for everybody, the final solution. So, and they're going to always clothe their desire for power in love and like we're doing it for love and light reasons, guys. Like I need to take over the world for the purposes of helping everybody, right? That's always the argument. So, but deep down, because they don't possess an inner kingdom ruled by the inner imperial self that is very well maintained and in the right order, they don't possess that. These are chaos beings. They can only strive for temporal power up the greasy pole. And they want to be godlike. They want command and control over everything that terrifies them. And when life terrifies you, when consciousness terrifies you, then you're going to be the worst tyrant of all. That's what C.S. Lewis was saying. Those are the worst tyrants, the do-gooders. The do-gooders with power who don't have their own lives in order, which is why they default to do-gooding for everything else, because they don't want to address what's going on within themselves. So they got to go fix the world now. The world fixers, watch out. They're the biggest tyrants of all because they never leave you the fuck alone. That's why. That's why. He's like, at least the brute, at least the egomaniac that just needs a little dose and then he's good. It'll be satiated after a while. He'll be like, you know what? I'm kind of good. But the moral busybodies, they're insatiable. That's why they're the most vicious tyrants. So yeah, it's about power. SB, Dave, what do you think about the recent ruling in BC? Oh, right. Recent ruling in BC. Good question. Yeah. Let me just come back down from the big questions of life for a moment here. Recent ruling in BC was about the BC Supreme Court making a ruling that private property is not to be made inferior to the Indigenous land claim title thing, right? I think it's something like that. Did I get it right? My only question was, and I asked, what's his name? He's a lawyer. I asked him, he didn't get back to me, but I asked him, well, how much property in Canada is actually private property? So if the ruling is legalese and it says, well, private property doesn't count, and you go, right. Okay, sounds good. Thanks, guys. Looks like we're good. Wait a minute. Aren't we all living on Crown land? Is that a different definition than to the legal definition of private property under Canadian law? I just want to know, because otherwise I found out that we're like 85 to 91% Crown land in Canada. So there goes that dream, if that's the case, because I've always been under the sneaking suspicion that this whole BC land grab thing with the tribes are getting totally taken for a ride and they're just not seeing it, because the real thing is for the government and the people that run them to be able to actually take the land. So because it's already Crown land, and then within Crown land, there's all these statutes and laws that give us a certain level of private property rights, but it's never truly, because it's the bank owned, City of London owned Crown land. Then if they say private property is good. What if my house is on crown land and not private property? And then I got to get into the details of, are we talking about all of British Columbia, every blade of grass, or is it only certain sections? Because there's other rulings that happen where these tribes just got given big swaths of land in Vancouver and the outer Vancouver area and in Duncan and all this stuff. So I still got lots of questions. That's where I'm at with it. Shannon says, the architecture to build this destruction has been in play for a very long time. Just look at pathetic losers running this shit show. Albanese, Carney, Starmer, Macron, the list is long. Yeah, exactly. The great memes of showing all those guys and Trudeau and all these guys is like, weak men create hard times, definitionally. Like, here they are. The Bill Gateses, they're all soy boys, you know? They all cross their legs funny. What's up with that? I can't cross my legs like that to save my life. Oh, God. But yeah. And they are pathetic losers. They operate like it. They act like it. They believe themselves to be that, so they operate like that, you know? It doesn't mean they have to continue being like that. It's a choice. What do you call it? Arno Gruen? Self-betrayal? The betrayal of the self? Yeah, that's a super big part of everything going on. Cheryl, is it like they are terrified of death or both? Oh, is it life they're terrified of death or both? It could be both, Cheryl. Like, I just think it's cool to bring up the fact that we always instinctively think that the angst, the existential terror is the fear of death, right? And I'm sure there's a level of that no matter what you do, right? But the argument is, no, there's actually a fear of life. Maybe the fear of death causes a fear of life. People have different explanations for it, but the explanation of these types of control freaks is a fear of life, which is why they want to control freak it. Otherwise, they wouldn't want to control freak life with getting all this totalitarian power only in their capable hands, of course. It turns out they're not very capable. I mean, just look at the places that the people you've mentioned run. So Jen's asking, how far back does this go in your opinion? Probably back to the beginning. Probably back to the beginning. It's so old, it's new. Although maybe it's more accurate to say we've generally been the same, but there's been also baggage added over time and shifts in consciousness. Like, there seems to be historically different times where light bulbs have gone on in mass in humanity. Like, ideas hit humanity and it went and like it caught, and it was a positive evolutionary step in thinking or in building architecture or technology or anything, right? Science. So that is also part of it. But the rotten part is always going to be there too. Like, we're kind of a schizophrenic being. We're light and shadow, angel and devil. We're both. So we're just trying to get to the root of what explains the devil side. What explains that and how do you deal with it? Well, they want to chop it out of you. But it's the old thing, you know, when you're trying to cast out all your demons, careful you don't cast out the best parts of yourself. That's a metaphorical way of saying, when you're trying to get rid of the things you don't like about yourself or the aspects that you consider to be negative about yourself, and maybe they are negative, maybe they're causing negative behavior in you, self-destructive behavior or destructive behavior towards others. If you cut the whole thing out, you're forgetting that at the base of every vice is also a virtue. A vice is like a betrayed virtue. A vice can't exist in a vacuum. It's like evil is the shadow of the good. There's a relationship. It's not two completely separate things. Fear is like, if I have a fear for my children, I have a fear of this world destroying their beauty and innocence. That's what every father fears. And I definitely have that fear. But like, where does that fear come from? If you look at fear as a vice, because in a bad sense, fear is a vice, especially fear that's blown out of proportion, which becomes more like an angst, right? But fear in the sense of me having a rational fear about the safety of my children in this messed up world, then that could be a virtue, because it's going to lead and inspire me as a father to be the best father I can be, to raise strong warrior women that will be at least have some protection and awareness and the virtues built into them and good role models established, so that they have a better shot in this crazy messed up world. You know what I mean? So there's a positivity to that vice. What's another thing? Like, they've even done in criminal psychology, like getting down to, even though it sounds insane, some of the explanations of these serial killers or some of these crazy criminals, they get into it and they go, and this is in no way a justification for evil. That's not what we're trying to do. It's just like when you're diagnosing it, you learn something about consciousness, because how do you explain this barbaric level of evil that we see? And these detectives and forensic investigators got to look at this, at the swamp all the time. I speak to police officers. I train this police officer who's been going through depression lately after some instances that he doesn't even want to talk to me about. They were so horrific that he had to witness and be a part of, investigate, and do the whole thing. A crime scene he didn't want to talk about. He usually talks about them, so this must have been pretty bad. And there's people that see that level of human evil on a regular basis, and their take is that it's far worse than we know. But then they would even say in the psychological literature, they'd be like, well, when you get into the assessment of some of the motivations behind some of these things, those people believe they were doing the right thing. It's not objectively the right thing, but it's like there's a will towards virtue in humanity. But what happens when that gets twisted? And the will towards virtue is a will towards a vice. And that's just mixed up in their head. The way like a gender can get mixed up in your head, the virtue vice can get mixed up in your head. Sorry. And it's just an interesting study. So it's the idea that there's like the darkness is the shadow of the light, like the light and the shadow. That's a good metaphor. Well, we were talking about Eros and Thanatos, right? Death instinct, life instinct, will to meaning, will to power. You have this like breakdown, or this breakup of these two things, always expressing themselves on different levels. And different people have different words and ways of describing what I'm saying here. But the thing is that it's basically, to explain it, you'd have to look at it from the dark side first. It's almost like you would have to be aware of that level of evil, and then maybe the good is the response to it. And then the other question I was always asked some of these criminal investigators is, did you ever see that there was any hope in rehabilitating some of these people? Like, is there hope in that? Because is there a certain line that is there a certain mental line you can jump off of, or cliff you can jump off of? There's no escape from. And I've had different answers. I've had some people that still seem hopeful that rehabilitation on some of the worst of the worst is possible. And then many others that are like, dude, they've tried everything. It's just, you can't reverse some of these conditions. You have to lock these people up. You can't and so it's interesting to think about that. So what if some of those guys that are at that level, and I'll bet you there's degrees of that. I'll bet you there's definitely people that are not beyond repair. Okay. I've seen good examples of people that you'd think, and then they do turn out, there are sort of good things to inspire that. But you wonder about the undetected criminal class of people, the sharks that are just good at being undetected, that are like those serial killers or serial criminals that have been arrested and profiled. And they have that same profile, but they just are far more intelligent, and they're able to cover their tracks better. And they get their jollies off in a totally different arena, which just so happens to be the political world, the real power game. It makes sense that that's where they would go. So I think sometimes people, one point I'll say to end this one is, like, sometimes people take the evil seen in these institutions as the fact that the institutions are themselves evil, when that's just not the case. The institutions are a creation. They're a thought that we created and made it into reality. The people getting in there and taking control of the power in those institutions, that's where the problem can occur. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Hope that helped. I don't know what question I was answering. We could use a light bulb moment now, says SB. Shannon says they tried it nationally with the voice to Parliament, but Australians voted it down. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're referencing there. Cavill. Topic suggestion for a future Friday. Dark Enlightenment. Nick Land, Curtis Yarvin, haven't heard of him. I keep seeing echoes of this and flavors of accelerationism from tech ecosystem. Yeah. We may have gotten into some of this again in this recent episode, but yeah, I'll take note of those names. I don't recognize them. Interesting subject for sure. Well, guys, we're 5 minutes away. I hope my wife is getting ready. We'll see what's on her mind. I was thinking, was there something else I had here? I need to check my notes real quick. There might have been something else I wanted to bring up. Let me go back. So glad I saved all these. Yeah. Okay, I'll wrap with this question to bake your noodle, okay? This kind of gets into the bigger question of like, if we look at consciousness and we think, all right, is it unique to humans on Earth? And now we're getting into the whole alien question a little bit. If consciousness is unique to humans, how different is the consciousness between humans and then say animals or nature? What's the spectrum of that? And then if we imagine that, of course, there's other planets and other galaxies, maybe even infinite amounts, that is consciousness existing there as well? And would it be the same consciousness that humans possess on Earth? Like, can we apply the same standard of how we measure and understand consciousness as humans living on Earth, experiencing it, because that's all we've known, right? Are we thinking about this question of other life in the universe and what kind of consciousness they might possess? Are we thinking about it too much from the vision of ourselves? Is that a correct position to take? Is that the correct way to view the question? That, like, are we right in saying that, well, we have consciousness, so there's other consciousness? But is that consciousness the same? Does it operate the same? So this is the kind of bake your noodle part of it, because if consciousness exists throughout the universe, and there's this sort of human bestial, violent, what we call the human evil level of consciousness, war, violence, evil, is that the only level of consciousness potential in the universe? Or is it a unique product of the human experience that we specifically, our species on this planet, has gone through since the beginning? Someone was asking, how far back do you think this goes? If we take the ancestral trauma theory on board, that there's been cataclysmic and genetic trauma perpetrated on humanity throughout history at some point, some major ping points in the distant past that have left echoes and fractures in our consciousness up till now, and then the accrued traumas of history, and then the accrued traumas in your own personal life, it's pretty incredible that we're still here with any level of robust positivity, which says there is another quality of consciousness that is heroic and is able to transcend that bestial side. So if we take the ancestral trauma theory on board, what if that is what is unique about earthling consciousness? I don't know what else to call it, earthling consciousness. And that doesn't guarantee this same issue on all other planets. What if there are levels to this game? What if there are different destinies of different species that may have consciousness, but their consciousness there's a variety of expressions of it. Maybe they're worse. They've had worse traumas and worse damage, and there's more evil as a result. Maybe there's less, which means there's not as much. Maybe there's none, which means there's none at all. Maybe there's levels and, waves to it. But yeah, anyways, that was the question I was thinking about. I'll just leave it. I'm not going to answer it, but I'll let you ponder it. I hear some pitter patter. I hear somebody coming down here. So I believe we're about to switch over to the Dave and Monica show. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about that question. Ted's going, well, what I would like to ask, or what I would ask rather, does the metaphysical effects of the Kali Yuga, modern age, prevalent, how far beyond Earth or not? Oh, are the metaphysical effects prevalent beyond Earth or not? Yeah, interesting way to ask it, Ted. Interesting way to put it. Cheryl says, given the fact that we humans have been constantly traumatized, makes me think we are much more powerful than we know. Exactly. This is my counterclaim to people that might have the glass half empty on this. Despite it all, here we are. We shouldn't even be here. Despite it all, there's still brilliant people. There's still brilliant geniuses. There's still wonderful, beautiful people. There's still beautiful families. There's good in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for. You know, it still exists. The fact that that exists as a potential means that is also part of the package of consciousness. And maybe the dark side is an expression of all the baggage and the wounds. That's why it's a distorted, inverted version of the good. And the healing only takes place at a certain point in the future. And maybe we don't need it to be forced on us by the transhumanists, their solution, which is to just get in there and use technology to force us to become what they consider good. I'm personally not interested in that one. Not to say technology can't be useful in some regard, but yeah, I'm going to stick with freedom. I'm going to stick with freedom for humanity and what comes, whatever this way may come. Shannon saying, you're right, as Victorian government are pushing forward. Thankfully, I'm in New South Wales, but yes, it will be back in the other way. Cheers, Earthy Annie. Oh, you guys are you're chatting it up. Okay, cool. I won't interrupt. See if I missed any good ones. What do they actually worship? Yeah, we answered that. They worship, I think, power. Very good, very good. Well, while we're waiting for my lovely wife, she's had a busy week. Our girls are doing their dance recital. I'm very excited about it. And she's intimately involved in volunteering and all that. So she's been out and about. Oh, apparently Ryan Graves told Peter Ducey today that there's a spectrum in the quality of videos. We are currently seeing, are you talking about the ET video or the UFO videos? We are currently seeing low quality videos, but we are at the start of a regular release cycle that is going to go on for some period of time. From what I have heard, the videos will get more high fidelity and clearer with more context as to what these things actually are. There is a long-running UFO crash retrieval reverse engineering legacy program and also the data collected from around 2017 since the stigma was reduced across all military assets. So there you go. There's the breaking news on that subject. Hello. Welcome. We had a mixed chat today, my love. Let me pull up the chat for you.
What's the chat about?
Well, I started this kind of talking about the deep church part that I did in Cult of the Medics because someone had a question about it. So I played that to open up today and talked about that a little bit, just basically the infiltration of the Vatican and all that. And then they kind of got into talking about the nature of like thought and consciousness and the good and evil question and morality and how to raise children and how to inspire this will to meaning as opposed to will to power. And we kind of got into some of that stuff. So like, in, the philosopher Nietzsche, he discussed this thing called the will to power as being humans have this will towards power. Like that's what motivates humans is that they just want power. And then Viktor Frankl was another guy who came in and said, no, there's also a will towards meaning. So that's kind of like, the counter. So
would that be like significance, searching for significance?
Yeah. Like the meaning, because these thinkers were living in like this time where it was very obvious that the human condition seemed to be mostly barbaric and evil and war and violence and all that. So they were thinking, why is that so dominant? Like, and why doesn't God interfere? And all these questions came up. And so they went, well, what motivates all this will towards violence. Well, and Nietzsche said, well, it's the will to power. And then what Franco was saying was the will to meaning is we're going to find meaning in the struggle, in the darkness, in the pain, in the suffering. Like it's not for nothing.
Yeah.
There's a meaning to life, and we have to bring the meaning from within ourselves to life.
Right.
And then that brings the positive effect. And if you raise children to have a will to meaning, then you're going to see the need for virtue and all these kind of things. So anyways, pretty deep philosophy, but
do we ever study what influences a philosopher to come up with their own conclusions?
That's always a good one. Like,
because
it's the time that they're in,
Nietzsche
the questions. Yeah.
come up with that if he was maybe only looking at specific groups in the society, let's say.
Or maybe there's a part of him that was, abused or something.
Yeah.
You
I
get
know
the
lots of
personal
people
side.
that don't want power.
Yeah, no, I know.
Hi, everyone.
I know lots of people that don't want power. Well, you could say too, though, maybe they don't want power in politics, but they want power over their kids and their pets and their husbands and their wives and their friends. And, there's that kind of situation.
But I think of someone like your dad who has zero inclination to have power over somebody.
Right. But
he's like, I just want to be left alone.
Sorry, Dad, if you're ever watching this, but like, there's also some issues with like maybe a power over his own decision making, right? And sometimes, right? So like, you see it shows up somewhere. They'll get you.
They'll get you.
That will to power will get you. Susan Maureen saying, have you heard of Lynn Buchanan with regards to UFO? Lynn Buchanan, that does sound familiar. Can you remind me of who that is again, Maureen? So, Sergeant Lynn Buchanan. Thank you. Sergeant Lynn Buchanan is a retired U.S. Army intelligence officer and controlled remote viewer who served in Project Stargate from 1984 to 1992, claiming to have located 4 secret UFO bases on Earth and facilities on Mars. What a bio. What a bio. That's pretty cool. I love that stuff. Earthiani says, ta-da, she has arrived. Hi, Monica. Dave is here. Happy Friday. What's up, Dave?
Hey, Dave. Where are my people at?
Sacco was here earlier.
Yep.
He's floating
Cavill,
in and out.
Cheryl.
We got everybody here.
Shannon. Hi, Celine. And Maureen. And where's Sean? Where's Joseph?
Yeah, maybe they'll jump in.
That's okay.
We were talking yesterday about something that I'm like, Monica, we have to bring this up on the show, and I forgot what it was. Do you remember?
I do. Trauma bonding.
Trauma bonding. She's like, I'll see your will to power stuff and UFO stuff and raise you. Trauma bonding. Let's do it.
It only came up because I saw a clip about it and it got me thinking. And then I also know someone whose daughter is having severe anxiety and panic attacks at the age of 11 and has been going on for a few years. And her mom is doing everything she can to help her. And the thing is, I think the mom is the reason this kid is having panic attacks and anxiety. It's coming through in a different form, or not a form, like it's coming through as a reason for, like, she's using, she's afraid of, there's a food issue and it's coming through food, right? But the true trigger deep down is actually her mother. And I'm friends with this person, but the mother is very intense. And while she's not aware, triggering her daughter's anxiety, in my opinion, just because I've known them for over a decade and I've watched the patterns, she is also simultaneously helping her because the daughter is like seeking her mother's solution. Like, what is the solution? Mom, I need you. She even gave her daughter a phone earlier than she wanted to give her a phone, but needed to because the panic attacks, anxiety was so bad that she needs her daughter to be able to get a hold of her to take her out of school when it happens. and it happened super randomly. So we got on that topic. I was telling Dave about it, and I was like, I've left this alone. I stayed quiet for a long time. But I think the reason this little girl's having panic attacks, anxiety is because of her own mom. And Dave's like, yeah. And we were talking about it. And I said, and then I came across a clip about what trauma bonding is, because why is the daughter, well, because she's only 11, she can't figure it out, that her mom's the reason she has a latent like angst in her stomach constantly, which affects her appetite and affects her relationship with food. That she seeks her mother's like input and solutions while the mother is causing, in my opinion, that, and I'm not a professional, it's just observing from a third party. And it's because of an event that happened last week that scared, should we talk about that?
No, we don't have to get into it all the way.
Yeah.
I just, it's a good, I mean, that.
But
when
you
said
witnessed
trauma,
it.
Yeah,
You
I
witnessed the mother
anxiety.
freak out
Yeah.
about something
Yeah.
in front of her
And
kids.
the effect on the kids.
Yeah, and the effect, but the mom's not seeing that her freaking out affects the kids.
Yeah.
And then is like, oh, I just can't believe she's so anxious. I don't know what's happening. We're taking her to therapy. We're doing EMDR. We're doing all these modalities. And I'm like, you're the problem. You're the problem.
Yeah.
So it made me feel bad because I know this girl very well, and I know the mom very well, and our kids play together, and so it got us on this topic. And then I saw this clip on Instagram about someone explaining what trauma bonding is. And I said, I feel like that's what it is. It's sort of this idea that you said the mom is almost creating the problem to keep her daughter close to her because she's afraid of losing her or whatever, Anyway, I thought it was an interesting topic, and that's why we got onto the topic.
Well, it is because trauma bonding, like, isn't that what everybody did to the government during the lockdowns, and that they still do, right? Like, so that goes all the way up the spiral.
Other way around, the government did to us.
Right. But I meant like
creates the bond through the trauma.
Right. But what I mean is we
rely on the government.
Wanted that. Like they're championing it even to this day. They're like,
but trauma bonding is perpetrated by the abuser, not by the follower. The follower or the victim is not the person bonding because of the trauma. It's because the bond was created through the trauma.
Yeah.
So our governments do that to us. Because I often say to Dave how it feels like I'm in a bad relationship. Like, in a toxic relationship, you're with a guy or a woman who is toxic and they gaslight you and this and that. That's what it feels like when I'm dealing with the government and their announcements and news and and we're bonded to them because we equally need them. It's weird.
Yeah, like everybody found out the price tag on Mark Carney's flights, how much he spends on food and the kind of food served on the private jet. And they used to do this for Trudeau, and it's in the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
It's just absolutely braised, all this stuff. And you go, meanwhile, we just got pinged. It's in Bloomberg today that Canada's in recession officially. So that means a lot of people are at food banks, the prices of everything going up. So they're having caviar on the private jet while he's going all over the world to help make deals for Canada. And yet, the average Canadian can't even do 3 square meals for the kids.
Exactly. But it's a tale as old as time. I mean, every single monarchy has operated this way if we look at history. So the peasants are struggling and hungry and desolate and oppressed, and the monarchy, the ruling class of the day, are literally throwing food in the garbage. What's different? It's not different today. We have the illusion of democracy because we vote, but it's the same setup. We're sort of still on the serf, type of lifestyle, like elbows up. Anyway, that's what you said you forgot about. So no,
that's it's just I just thought it was a cool.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about it because it's very personal in each and every one of our lives, and then also extrapolate that, zoom out to the governmental level, trauma bonding. So psychology plays a really important role. And Dave was pointing out, I don't think people are interested in talking about psychology because that's when it's a snooze fest, right? When you talk about psychology, not only is it boring subject, but second, you're exposing people, so they don't want to hear it. And Dave and I just noticed that when Unslaved goes into psychological topics and Michael's going on his psychology stuff, that's when the numbers kind of drop in viewership. So we were kind of talking about how it's the number one thing. That's why Michael got to that conclusion on why we are where we are. It's everything to do with your mother, your parents, your country, your existence. The environment, the perception of our own existence is all based in psychological filtering. So, wasn't it?
It is.
Okay.
Well, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with you right now.
Thank you.
You sound very knowledgeable.
I only sound knowledgeable here. I save it for this, and then the rest of the time I'm like, la la, what's happening?
I play dumb a bit too.
But it's because my innermost thoughts are constantly going. I'm always thinking about these things, right?
Well,
like you guys are.
Yeah, and you need a platform to think. That's what podcasting is. It's the place to think. It's like when I'm doing a drive or I'm doing my that's my place to think. You can say your piece without getting interrupted all the time.
Those drive with Dave's, you guys, that's raw Dave's thoughts in that moment. Just so you know, he does not plan those. He does not script those. Those are literally the things he wishes he could say and then does. Right? Well, so I feel bad for... Okay, have you ever been in a situation where you're watching something happening in front of you? Well, we all have, but let's say a friend or a neighbor or, you're watching a situation happen over and over, and you have to ask yourself, do I get involved? Do I cause shit right now and get involved and be like, you're the problem. That's why your daughter's like that. So you know what I did? This is how I did it, because I feel so bad for this girl, because I've known her since she was 1 year old and she's 11 now. And I've watched the dynamic between them for so long. And going back to the girl who has anxiety. And I feel so bad that she's going through this. So I threw myself under the bus to kind of give a hint to the mom that it's her by saying that I do that to my daughter. And that I learned the hard way and all that. So I probably do that to my daughter, but because we're all mothers and we all, have a piece of us out there, like our daughter, and she's a piece of us. But I said to my friend, I'm the reason she's anxious. I'll say that about my daughter, just so she can kind of think about it and go, is that me too? So I do that sometimes. I'll throw myself under the bus and give scenarios that I wish she would look at and say that I did that, and then try to influence her, because I'm like, the way you respond to things, the way you overreact, and she swears foul language in front of her kids since they were very small, and that all has energy attached to it. So I told her, I said, my daughter cringes when I use the F word, let's say. And I don't know if she does, maybe she does, but that didn't really happen. This is what I mean by throwing myself under the bus. I'll give her an example that I did, and I'll say, my daughter really hates when I swear. She's asked me not to. And I try to maybe you don't do that too. Cause you can see her kids' faces when she uses bad language or freaks out about something or I think she overreacts personally, she's acting. But anyways, have you ever been in that situation where you have to watch a relationship between two people and you're like, I know what the issue is, but if I say something, now I'm involved. So that was my way of doing it.
There is a debate on that. At what point do you intervene? It's sort of the non-intervention debate. Do you let the effect of nature happen so that the lesson is learned and never forgotten? Or do you intervene and go, because it also involves somebody it's like a young kid. So you go, I'm intervening on her behalf.
Look at that question.
Oh yeah, let's not.
Where's the husband? Yeah,
restrain
that's
her.
a whole other story. So there you go. It's a chain reaction. And the husband is around, just doesn't have an opinion.
And it's hard to be, it's so hard to be parents today. There's that dynamic, but like the world these kids are growing up in really fast, when you're not dealing with that inner stuff, like it's already hard. Like I can see why people don't look into that, but otherwise, what are you doing to your kids if you don't?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Self-reflection, introspection.
Like we all make mistakes, like
Yeah.
obviously, like,
yeah.
But you learn. I'm actually happy how I've learned with coaching, with coaching young kids. I've gotten better with that, and learning the best way, learning how to see them properly and then understand and then have a different energy. But maybe there's a lot of parents out there that just refuse to look at it because they can't bear the fact that it might be them that are causing some of these problems.
Yeah. And her daughter won't figure this out until she's much older. That's the other thing.
And then the resentment kicks in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And she's such a sweet girl, this girl. She's amazing, you know? I feel so bad for her. She's just a mess right now. Anyway, I hope they are going to counseling. I really hope the psychologist really helps narrow down what's going on at home, kind of thing.
Yeah. Dave's saying, yes, I wish I knew more psychology when my kids were little.
Yeah.
I know now how much I could have done better. Yeah. Oh, same here, Dave. Trust me.
Yeah.
We all want to do it better, right?
Yeah.
But there's only forwards, and the human conscious is pretty resilient. We always make it look like it's just this really fragile thing. It's fragile, but it's also resilient. You get both. So we got to stop freaking out all the time. Jen says, I think it's part of the reason kids don't want to have kids when they grow up. Yeah, maybe that's the real reason why we're seeing a rejection of parenthood in this newer generation.
Yeah, maybe.
It's not just that they're jaded or just that they're, it's a different culture. It's that there's a fear that they're not going to know how to do it right themselves. Like, you never know. SB was for me.
Yeah. And the psychology of being in a relationship too.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're going to be in a long-term relationship, you're going to be stripped down to bare bones.
Yeah.
In terms of psychology, like you really have to admit things.
You're being viewed.
Yeah, you're being
viewed all the time.
All the time.
You're being watched and studied in a way objectively that you're not doing for yourself. So it's quite the interesting situation.
Different values as well. Like some people are very materialistic, others are not, and then they get together and opposites attract, and that's true because it's true. We can't have two spenders and we can't have two savers, have no life. We need one of each.
Yeah.
We always joke about that, Dave and I. Dave's the fun one and I'm the boring one. I'm the one who's putting the end to fun. Oh wait, what is that comedian he was saying?
Oh my God.
He's like, there's one partner who loves having fun and the other one hates it. The other one hates fun and wants to put an end to fun. Is there fun being had in here?
Yeah.
We're going to put a stop to that.
Exactly.
That's me. I'm the fun ruiner. So I think I'm called the DOF, the destroyer of fun.
The destroyer of fun.
And then Dave's like, oh, come on, man. But you need one of each. Because if we were both fun, we'd be broke ass. Okay. With no structure. And then if we were both, tight asses.
Yeah.
The kids would have no life. It would be very boring. We'd be home doing nothing.
You try to get a lot of fun things going.
Yeah.
You take them to the water park.
Oh yeah. I bring my book.
You tell them I'm making your lunches. You don't get to have pizza.
Yeah.
you know
what though? These kids get a lot of things.
It's
I'm
true.
very, very
You're
generous.
Very good. You're much more generous than your parents were for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Hey, did you guys hear they're bringing Pizza Hut back? The Pizza Hut Classic back.
What do you mean the Pizza Hut Classic?
Pizza Hut Classic. And never mind your organic food and you're worried about the toxins and corporations owning stuff. Just listen to me for a second. This is a dream. Pizza Hut Classic. What was it? It was a restaurant with the red roof, with the buffet, with
You're
the
excited
pizza.
about this?
I
This
am
is what you-
so excited. When I was a kid, that's where we went for my birthday parties.
Oh my God.
And I heard, this is a rumor, the CEO is bringing back Pizza Hut Classic. So it's not going to just be delivery. It's a place you go and you eat deep fried pizza.
Right, because they got rid of it.
I call it deep fried pizza
It
because
is
there's
deep fried
so much
pizza.
oil
It's
in
so
that
bad
pan.
for you, probably.
It's terrible. But how fun.
That was random.
I know.
Are you hungry?
I am.
Do you want to have pizza tonight? Is that what you're saying?
I am. I've got a couple ideas upstairs.
Okay.
So I'll run it by you. But
Okay.
I'm so excited. I'm very I send Dave a lot of videos of nostalgic videos because I feel nostalgic about the 80s and 90s. So Pizza Hut Classic.
I'll bet you that was a totally different pizza than it is today.
Yes. And you guys in the States are gonna get it first. We don't get anything here.
Pizza Hut and Blockbuster. You really couldn't
Yeah.
get any better.
Oh,
I'm just like,
the best.
and then you rent one game.
One game.
You get one game. You get to have it for a week.
Yep.
And then it's Be Kind Rewind. And you go in and you browse and there's music playing and there's popcorn and
That's Dave's
and you
favorite.
go in and
movies.
you get a bunch and then you got to return them.
Yep.
And then you get to try things out. You don't have to buy everything. You don't have to buy them for $30 on digital copy that you don't own 6 years later. It's like you don't own it anymore.
Well, we canceled Disney Plus, the subscription, because we're not watching it. And the only person that watched it was my younger daughter who liked some of the classics, but I have the classics on VHS. Okay. And I have a VCR still. I just need the cord that plugs it into the TV.
The problem is
the
modern TVs don't have the inputs.
We're gonna buy an old TV.
Yeah, you gotta do.
You know what? Someone's gonna bring this back. Actually, there's a trend going around too with people turning their basements into 80s and 90s basements. Themes, yeah. And Costco is now selling an cassette player stereo that has Bluetooth, but also CDs and cassettes. And I've got old cassette tapes from when I was a teenager when I used to record the radio.
Oh, that's why you were sharing that thing with me.
Yes, and I said I want that.
You want that? Is that like a gift? Is that a gift idea for one of your things?
Yes.
One of your holidays, celebrations?
Yes. Can you imagine? We're going to hear all kinds of radio talk from the 90s on that tape because I used to record off the radio.
You know what I was doing it was like a month ago. I found a YouTube channel that plays all the way through like a 24-hour session of radio from the 80s and 90s. And there's different themes. And you can like literally listen to a radio broadcast from like December 7th, 1994.
This is what I'm talking about.
And you can just live in that world, like the news, the commercials, everything.
They're like, give the people what they want. They want Pizza Hut Classic.
RCA inputs, that's right.
They want their VCRs back, and we want our 80s basements back.
Yeah.
Everything is so colorless. White, black, gray.
Yeah, bring color back. Even if it's tacky, I don't care.
I mean, okay, the 70s and 80s were very brown, not gonna lie. Every basement had the wood 60s, paneling.
Yeah, it's true.
But I'm just saying, like,
smelled of rich mahogany.
Well, they thought, but it wasn't.
It wasn't.
We want this back. Beige world. No, someone was a friend of mine who's now a grandmother, a friend of mine. She's a little bit older than me, but she's a grandma now. And she's like, I don't get why my son and daughter-in-law everything is neutral. Like, where's the color? The kids need primary colors for development. And she's like, everything's beige. Everything is grayish.
Grayish.
It's gray beige. And there's all the babies' rooms are muted oatmeal and tan, and like there's no gender specific colors.
Oh my God.
No, I'm not saying, I see that word triggers you, but I'm not saying
it does actually
want it to be gender neutral. I'm not saying they want it to be gender.
Oh, right.
It's just is. All the baby stuff is just, there's no pinks and blues. It's just grayish.
Someone told me that pink used to be regarded as a male color.
Oh yeah.
And then it got switched to female with Barbie.
The 80s pink, hot pink.
The hot
Corvette.
Pink. Yeah.
The Wall Street guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most cars are black, white, and gray. Real bleak when waiting at. Yeah, it's true. I have a white car. Dave has dark gray because that's what's available. But also, I was like, "Ooh, I want a white one." Because
Mine
I
looked like a
remember
suit
when
of
that
armor.
came.
That's what I liked.
Yeah,
That's why.
yeah. But it's true. There's not enough color, you know. So, wonder why kids are depressed. I don't know. Bring back Pizza Hut Classic.
I think the cool thing about Blockbuster was it was like if you were going to do an activity where you're just kind of sitting and chilling at home in your little den and letting your imagination go, you get to go out first. You get to go out and do and look and touch things. There was still like a physical interaction to it. That's what made it fun. It was like, oh, we're getting in the car. We're going to go for a car ride. We're going to go for a car. Get a little Pizza Hut on the way back.
You're like a dog.
Get a little Chinese food on the way back.
It's his favorite
go rent
thing
a movie
on planet
Dude,
Earth.
like, yeah, this is what we're going to do tonight. We're going to go to Blockbuster, pretend.
Yeah.
And then come back and watch it and have pizza. Because, like, and then...
yeah, that's what we're doing.
But you would come back. But now with the Netflix, it's like, I don't even know what to watch because there's just overload of options.
It's too much.
Plus, most of it's woke now.
So we canceled Disney Plus, going back to what I was saying, because we're not using it. And it just feels like the moment we canceled it, that's when my daughter was like, oh, come on, I want to watch Snow White or whatever.
Like,
and
nostalgic.
I'm like, oh yeah, now you do. So I said, no, we're not gonna get it back. We're not watching it. There's nothing good on it. And they haven't turned out anything good in a very long time. So no.
Yeah.
And I'm also done with all of the subscriptions you need to watch things.
Yeah.
Terrible. So
here we are on the subscription platform, though.
Oh. Sorry.
That was phenomenal marketing.
No, this is free.
I'm just kidding.
It's free right now.
We've all gone to it. Subscription model.
Yeah, it's smart.
Well,
though.
you know what though?
You know
what though? The reason I like the subscription model though is that you're free to come and go. The problem is the ones that like you can't get out of.
Really? There's ones you
Well,
can't get
they
out of?
make it really hard to get out of.
Oh, okay.
And they keep insisting upon themselves too much.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah,
There's a balance
are
in
you
life.
sure
What are you
you
gonna
want
pay
to
for?
cancel? Are you really sure you want to cancel?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and unsubscribing from emails now, the junk emails, they take you through like several pages to confirm that you want to be unsubscribed.
Yeah,
that's not good.
That's why I don't like checking my email as much. I'm just
Yeah.
inundated with stuff, and I don't want to do the work to fix my mailbox.
Hmm.
Okay, where are we at?
We don't have anything else.
We don't have anything else?
I don't know.
Well, hold on. Let me just look at my notes here.
Oh,
what do we got?
all right.
Earthborn.
Got Dave notes.
Oh, guys. Okay, you want to do a Dave note real quick? It's about when I just looked this up. Have you ever heard of, how do you say this, Monica? Ancient Greek. How do you say this? I'm going to put it in the chat.
Autochthon.
Ancient Greek. It means earthborn.
What?
Okay, earthborn. Here, check. I'll put this in the chat. You guys can check this. Where is it? There we go.
How do you pronounce?
You got to spell it.
I know how to spell it.
You know how to spell it already?
Yeah.
I have to like study the word to know how to spell it.
Yeah.
Okay, I dropped it in the chat.
Autochthon.
Autochthon.
No, the emphasis is on the talk.
Autochthon.
No, autochthon.
Autochthon. All right. Autochthon.
Okay.
Autochthon is ancient Greek. Listen to this, meaning earthborn.
Autochthon.
You did it.
Autochthon.
You nailed it. Autochthon. What a.
Okay.
Okay. Let me explain what it is. The practice in ancient Greece of describing legendary heroes and men of ancient lineage as earthborn greatly strengthened the doctrine of autochthony. In Thebes, the race of Spartoi were believed to have sprung from a field sown with dragon's teeth. Dragon's teeth. The dragon was a metaphorical image in the ancient world, according to some of the research we've been doing, for the comet, the fall of the comet. The tails of the comet were the dragon's tails, right? So imagine what you could possibly deduce from the fact that there's sort of this mythological way of believing that these men were sprung from the earth, sown with dragon's teeth. These are the men who sprung after the fall of the meteor or the comet. This is kind of the idea. The Fijian Corbantes had been forced out of the hillside like trees by Rhea, the great mother, and hence were called arboreal. It is clear from the ancient Greek play Prometheus Bound, commonly attributed to Aeschylus. We're learning ancient Greek today, guys. That primitive men were supposed to have at first lived like animals in caves and woods until, by the help of the gods and heroes, they were raised to a stage of civilization. Well, who were the gods? Who were the earthborn? Anyways, random note. What else I got in here?
What is that? Okay, explain it now. What is this?
Well, earthborn. So if ancient man is describing earthborn and then gods, like the gods that it's kind of giving you this whole
your
discussion about ancient astronaut stuff.
Your thesis.
Anyways, movement template. Oh, and that's something else. We'll get into that. That's work. We've done this quote many times. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've got this too. I found this treasure trove. Lauren E. Gross, UFOs, A History. Has anybody ever heard of this? It's 30 years of collected works of all the UFO reports, and it's 94 volumes. You can download it now. I'd have to put here. I'll put it all in the chat. You guys can just, I'll just do this. You can get it from here. This is just for research purposes. Save it for your notes. You'll have to copy the URL. 94 volumes, 30 years of collected UFO stories. So cool stuff. Oh, yes. I want to do a deep dive on this. I think I might do this as just like a public show, one of the regular lives I do on all my channels. And yes, I will do it here for you guys on Substack as well. It's about this tract called Mundus Subterraneus, and it was written in 1678 by a Jesuit polymath who published a 990-page map of the hidden earth, complete with underground fire chambers, aquifers, mineral veins, caves, fossils, dragons, alchemy, and Atlantis. So we're going to dive into that. It's epic. I've got the PDF of it, so we've got all the images, and we can look into some more ancient mysteries. Do I have anything else on? Oh, I got the best triangle escapes video saved here. What else?
Yeah. We're kind of
lost
done.
The words
kind of dry today.
I also did recording this morning.
Oh yeah, you're tired. We've had a lot going on.
Yeah, we've had a lot going on.
One more tournament for the jiu-jitsu, and then we'll have a break in the summer.
Yeah.
Richard Dolan talked about USOs.
Yeah, he's got a book on it now. I want to check out the book.
Jen said that.
Oh, Richard's talking about USOs? Yeah. Yeah, I just watched that video, actually. Apparently, he was going back into the archive of famous stories that everybody forgets. He says there's more UFO cases that have the best kind of witnesses, the best kind of evidence that are forgotten than are discovered. And so he's been going through a series on that. So check it out. USOs, unidentified submerged objects.
Hey, remember when I clicked on that remote viewer?
Yeah.
That said,
oh yeah, you sent me that video.
Never mind an ice wall. Let's talk about the center of the universe, or the Earth inside.
She had an interesting
What do you guys think about remote viewing? Dowsing rods. What do you guys think about that?
Do I have a note on remote viewing? I probably do.
I know there's fakers out there, but I wonder who is able, who is not able.
First note up. Remote viewing is the ability to acquire information about a distant or non-local place, person, or event without using your physical senses or having any prior knowledge. Remote viewing is different from natural psychic receptivity in that it is a trained skill that anyone can learn, and it's a latent talent in us all. A trained remote viewer can identify specific details of a target, irrespective to distance, with significant accuracy, based solely on geographical coordinates. And those coordinates don't have to be earthly. They can be coordinates on a distant planet, like the time the CIA remote viewed on an ancient civilization on Mars, or when Ingalls Swan, one of the most illustrious members of Stargate, I guess the Stargate program, viewed the rings around Saturn before they were ever discovered by NASA. During a successful remote viewing session, one subconsciously taps into a greater shared system of consciousness, a universal consciousness. Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, Frankie's questions. Frankie was one of the producers that I actually hit it off with Prometheus Entertainment. So she was getting me, oh, this is probably why I have these. I still have all the questions they sent me, from Ancient Aliens and stuff. What's this? Explain how we came to know about the use of remote viewing in the government project known as the Stargate Project. So they go through and it's like an exam, and I have to perform it on camera.
Okay.
Oh, well, okay. Well, there you go, guys. We wrapped it with remote viewing. I think that's all we're going to do today. You happy with that?
We didn't go off on a tangent this time. That's
We didn't
a
really
first.
have a tangent.
That's a first for
Yeah.
us.
But still, I think less is more today, and it was still.
What about you
juicy
guys?
enough.
Do you have a question?
You got questions? Pink is a boy's color for red. Think Mars. Interesting. Well, I'm not really seeing any questions, so
Well, let them type.
let them type.
You're like,
You have 30 seconds. I'm ending this live stream. I'm going to Blockbuster to have pizza immediately.
Start typing, you guys.
Cavill's got one. Family hired a dowsing expert for locating a new well for their ranch. Worked first try.
Really?
Oh, interesting.
There's a few famous influencers online that do the dowsing rods and ask questions for people. And I don't know how those things turn.
Sean Scott, I was wondering if you could ever get Anthony Peake back on Unslaved. Yeah, Michael keeps wanting me to get him on too, and I've emailed a bunch and I just haven't heard back. The guy is hard to reach. He would I'm sure he would love it because we've had him on a few times and I've always hit it off good with him. He liked us, so I don't think there's any issues. So we're going to try to make it happen. Flynn Photo, remote viewing is sanctioned by the CIA and 4chan, so there you are. Dave Wakely, thanks for showing up, you guys. Go have some fun and relax tonight. There you go.
But there's no Blockbuster.
Well,
Dave.
we have to do a pretend mock Richard, a mock.
Oh my gosh, the kids would love that. Wouldn't it
We'll
be
go
so
walk
fun?
around Shoppers Drug Mart and pretend.
No. We'll make one here.
We'll make a Blockbuster.
Yeah, we'll make a Blockbuster.
But it takes a lot of work.
I know. It's just fun to role play. I did a pickup window with the girls once.
You did? You had it like a drive-thru?
Like a takeout, and then I put a spoon attached to their headphones so they could take our orders, and then
oh my god.
Yeah, I do all kinds of stuff like that. We'll play store, set it all up. My mom has to come up and shop at the store. Super fun.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're going to leave it there. Go check out Chapter 6. This is the related episode for this episode. Chapter 6, Cult of the Medics.
Why? What is that?
That's the chapter on the Deep Church.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So I played the intro for today's show.
You did a phenomenal job on that series.
Oh, thank you so much.
Really?
Thank you.
Dave really researched the music and everything. He produced it himself, so it's quite impressive.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hopefully it comes into its own now. It's kind of better timing for it anyways. Well, thank you guys. You guys have a good one. Stay frosty.
We're done.
We're done for today, and we'll be back next week. And yes, we are going to contact Matt and do that double date.
Matt and Lori.
Maybe see if they can do it next week or the week after.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, let's get Matt and Lori in the house.
Yeah. Do you guys?
That'll be fun.
You guys want to see that?
We'll have lots to talk about. Trust me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
Done deal.
Sorry, it's short.
It's only 15 minutes less. And I actually came on 15 minutes early, so technically we're good. We're square.
Oh, really?
We're square. I came on early.
Yeah, but they want to see me.
Oh, well, you can close the show with 15 minutes of Monica.
I'm just kidding.
Monica-ism.
I got
Teach
nothing.
some Monica-ism.
I got nothing. See, I'm too honest. The problem is
you'll start talking about personal things.
Exactly.
And people start getting in trouble.
Yep.
You gotta
Or
zip it.
I'll talk about people I actually know.
Yeah, you don't need to
That's
gossip.
not good.
No
I'm not
gossiping.
gossiping. That's not gossip.
Talking about people you know is gossiping.
Talking about people you No, if you say it like, did you hear? But I'm like saying it out of
Oh, it's
concern.
the way you say it that
No.
it's not.
No, it's like a concern.
Oh. See, we did find something to talk about at the end.
Ladies, can you support me here? Do you talk about people to gossip, or do you talk about people to help them?
Do you talk about people
get
to project
advice to
upon
help
them?
them.
Is that
What?
Do you talk about people to project upon them the
No.
dark sides of yourself, as Carl
No,
Jung would
because
say?
I'm the first to admit if I'm doing something to sound.
Oh, look, Russell just got here and we're out of here.
Russell,
sorry, man.
Russell, we're leaving.
It's okay. Go back and watch it after.
There's not a lot happening tonight.
It was a phenomenal show. Lots of deep questions.
Okay,
Good
sorry.
comedy.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was good. It was entertaining. We talked about a lot of things. We talked about Blockbuster.
Got in
Talked
trouble.
about Deep Church. We talked about UFOs. We talked about
Your usual.
Yeah, well, that's what this show is.
My girls have a dance recital this weekend. I'm very
That's
busy. They have 4 shows. I'll be
very
backstage helping with makeup and hair, and they're so excited, and I'm excited. Aren't you excited?
I can't wait.
That's rude. Let's not tell them that you said that.
But I can't wait.
No, that you said that's boring.
I didn't say.
Yeah.
Do you see how this works? I didn't say it was boring. Okay.
Oh,
It's all recorded.
All recorded. We could go back and check.
We can
if
go
you
back
said
and
it was
check
wor-
the
was
record.
Boring.
I didn't say it was boring.
All right.
Okay, guys. We're done. Have a good one. Much love. We'll catch you next time.
And I think we are having pizza.
Yeah, for sure.